So we'll start in a supported bridge position. So bring your blocker whenever you've got underneath the sacrum, the back of the pelvis, with the knees bent so that feet are on the mat. We feel the back of the skull, the shoulder blades on the ground, and the sacrum is on our block. Now what we're going to do is we're going to really feel this neutral pelvis, which means our pelvis is not going to move. And all we're going to do is lift our heels up, keep pressing into the big toes and the balls of the feet, lower the heels. Now try to lift and spread your toes, and then lower the toes. So we lift the heels, push into the big toes, lower the heels, lift and spread the toes, and lower. So we keep alternating a little lift and lower. So we're getting some toe mobility, toe strength, and then a little stretch for the plantar fascia at the bottom of the feet. But you might already start to feel the calves, maybe even the hamstrings. So this is nice if you tend to cramp at the hamstrings fairly early in the supported bridge, so that you've got a little bit more stability there. Now that we've got the feet a little bit more warmed up, let's really plant the feet down. Use your glutes to lift off the block, and then lower down nice and slow until we feel that sacrum land. And from there, we'll do no block, hands behind the head, elbows in or elbows up toward the ceiling, whatever's tighter. Take a big breath in and feel that triple S stay on the ground. As you exhale, I want you to draw those two pelvic points in. Small lift off the shoulder blades like you're pulling your front ribs in toward the body. Chin is slightly toward the throat. Inhale and lower down. Exhale, draw the pelvic points in. Feel the front ribs pull in toward the body as you do this tiny lift off the shoulder blades. Back of the neck is long. Inhale to lower down. Exhale, feel the ribs pull down, lift up. Now stay here, drawing those pelvic points in. Pick up your left foot, knee over the hip, or maybe not even, as we flex the left hip, holding the pelvis still. Step that left foot down, inhale and lower. Exhale, lift off the shoulder blades. It's a small lift, pelvic points draw in. We pick up the right foot, hip flexion. Maybe knee comes over the hip, but we hold that low back on the ground. Step that right foot down, inhale, lower. Exhale, lift off the shoulder blades. Hold that pelvic bowl still. Let's flex the left hip. So pick up that left foot and flex your foot. So lifting those toes up toward the ceiling. Left foot comes back to the ground. We inhale and lower. Exhale, feel the ribs pull in toward the body as you lift up. Pelvic points draw in. We pick up the right foot. Flex the foot. Step that right foot down. Inhale and lower. One more time. Exhale, lift off the shoulder blades. Ribs pull in toward the body. Pick up the left foot. Flex it. Now stay here. The low back stays on the ground, but we lift the right heel. Pushing into that right big toe, ball of the foot. Lower the right heel. Lower the left foot. Inhale and lower down. Last one. Exhale, lift up. Feel the sacrum stay down. Pick up the right foot. We flex the foot. And then stay here and lift the left heel, pushing into the ball of that left foot. Lower the heel, lower the right foot. Inhale and lower down. Ooh, take a big breath in and out. We're going to come all the way to quadruped. So coming to hands and knees. And we'll do some movement here to get some triple flexion. So ankles, knees, and hips. So we're going to have our toes tucked under in quadruped as long as that feels okay. That's a toe extension or toe stretch. So feel that imaginary broom behind you. We'll start with some rock back. So as if we're going to sit the hips back for child's pose with the toes tucked under, and then rock it forward. So you can rock forward and back as much as it feels good for the toes, ankles, knees, hips, wrist. You get it, whatever feels okay without feeling like you're losing the structure of your spine staying neutral and your pelvis staying neutral. So we don't want to feel like we're pinching at the front of the hips. And if you want to, you can hover the knees and do this rock back, almost more like a crouch. You can have the hips a little higher, kind of like a down dog. But what we're doing here, regardless of if the knees are up or down, we're getting this triple flexion. So ankles, knees, and hips, that's what helps us get up and down off the ground. So the ability to get lower without just rounding the back is going to really be helped by our ankles staying mobile and our hips and our knees staying mobile and able to flex. Okay, we're gonna head from our crouches just to a quadruped, and we'll come into a side sit. So we're gonna come onto our left hand and our left hip, facing the side of the mat. Shoulder is gonna be pretty much over the wrist. It could be a little bit further behind, but we want to focus on the shoulder blade. So feeling really strong in that left shoulder blade, like we're not just hanging out here, but we're really engaged around the head of the arm bone. Let's try some little side bridges here. So I want you to push down into that left hand, the left lower leg, and see if you can lift that left hip off the ground and then back down, slowly lowering. So it might just be visualizing the lift. We're working that outer left hip, and then see if you can lower with control. You can use your hands anywhere on your body. You might need a little bit more support, but let's stay really structured in the shoulder. So the movement is coming from this left hip. Okay, we're gonna switch sides. So we'll come back to that quadruped, and let's just cat-cow before we switch sides. Getting some spinal mobility. Okay, now we transition into that side sit on the right outer hip and the right hand. So shoulder might be directly over the wrist or a little behind, but focus on the shoulder blade. So protraction would be kind of just like hanging off here. We want to feel that really structured neutral scapula. Push down into the right hand to lift and then lower with control. Working that outer right hip now. Lowering with control. As small as it needs to be to keep that pelvis neutral, long in the low back. All right, back to quadruped. And let's cat-cow again. Okay, we're gonna make our way to the front of the mat so we can just stand up and make our way there. And we'll continue the reset with some Sun Sal 1 with planks. So we'll soften the knees and really feel our triple S. Press down into your whole feet like you're trying to leave your footprints in some concrete, and then reach your arms up. Maintain that footprint as you hinge forward. So not letting your weight rock back onto the heels. We're gonna step the right foot back, lower the knee and the top of the foot. Lifting up, pause here. Now, a couple options. You can stay in your 90-90. You can try to lift the left toes. You could try to lift the ball of the foot as well. So it could be just the toe lift and spread. You could try to lift whatever you can into that ankle dorsiflexion for that left side. But maintain the neutral pelvis, that activity in the right glute. Good, hands come down. Plank pose. From your plank, lower the knees and feel that triple S like you've got a broom behind you. Lower down with control. Toes can be tucked or untucked for cobra. Lifting the chest, but zippering the pubic bone up. Lift up, tuck the toes, down dog. Walk the feet in, really shortening the stance so you keep the weight in the hands. Lifting the ribs up. Big breath in and out. Lower the knees using your core. Back to quadruped. Untuck the toes, right foot steps forward. Our left knee stays down. We're in that 90-90 on the other side. Set up with that broom behind you. Now we have the option to just lift and spread the right toes, or lift the toes and the ball of the foot if you can into a bigger range of motion for that ankle dorsiflexion. Whatever's going to work here for you, holding that pelvis neutral and that left glute almost pushing forward. Hands come forward or to your blocks. Left foot steps forward to meet the right, bent knee forward fold. Reach the arms up. Hinge at the hips, maintaining that full contact of the feet. Big toe, pinky toe, and heel. Left foot steps back. Lower the knee, but not the toes this time. Lifting up, let's pause here. Zipper that pubic bone up. We're gonna lift the heel this time. So you can have hands on the thighs if you'd like for that extra stability. We're gonna push into the big toe and the ball of the foot, and any amount lift the right heel. Now this is plantar flexion of the ankle. Hands come down, plank pose. Feel that triple S, lower the knees, relift the throat, lower the rest of the way down. Low cobra, toes can be tucked or untucked, pelvic points draw in, tuck the toes, lift up, down dog. Lifting the ribs up, breathing into the ribs. Lower the knees for quadruped. Left foot steps forward. We keep the right toes tucked this time. Lifting up, 90-90. Feel that triple S here. Right glute is firm. Hands can come to the thigh if you'd like. We're going to lift that left heel. Push into the big toe, the ball of the foot. Hands come forward or to your blocks. Right foot steps forward to meet the left. Bent knee forward fold. Reach the arms up. Starting our sequence, big bend in the knees, hinge at the hips, spine is long. Right foot steps back, lower the knee but not the toes. 90-90, pause here, feel that triple S. Hands can come to the thigh if you'd like, or the ribs, wherever you need. We're gonna hip hinge. So let's practice getting as low or coming forward, not by using the back, but just by using this left hip, and then lift back up. So this is that triple flexion again, ankle, knee, and hip. Push the ground away. So use your hands wherever you need. Try to keep the chest open so we're not rounding to get forward or down. We're really just hinging at that left hip. Let's pause in our hinge position. So hinging forward as low as you can. Zipper that pubic bone up. Lift the ribs away from that left thigh. Hands come down. We're heading into a three-legged quadruped, so maybe that right knee comes in just a touch more. Left leg back. Toes can be just barely off the ground. We're not going for height on this left leg. Let's check the right hip. Zipper the pubic bone up. Lift the ribs. Now we've got a couple options here. We can keep the chest open, bend the elbows straight back, any amount of push-up, and then straighten, but we're maintaining triple S, and we're not lifting the left leg higher as we bend the elbows. So we're really just bending the elbows, but nothing else changes. The other option is three-legged quadruped. Lower to your left forearm, right forearm, and then come back up onto your left hand, right hand. So either way, we're holding triple S, and we're getting low to the ground, using the core, using the hips, using the arms, but holding that neutral spine. Last time. Slide that left knee back in for quadruped. Now we tuck the toes, hover the knees. We're gonna rock back or crouch back, come forward in that hover, swivel. So we're gonna do a little swivel. Our knees are gonna swivel left and then right, and then back to center, land the knees. Hover the knees. Shift it back like a little crouch. Bring it forward. Swivel the knees to the left. Swivel the knees to the right. Bring it back. Tap the knees down. Take a breath in. As you exhale, you're going to lift up, down dog. Weight stays in the hands. We lift the hip creases up. Nice short down dog. You can stretch one heel down at a time to stretch out the calf if that feels good. From your down dog, we're going to keep that flexion of the hips. So hip creases nice and high, ribs lifted, hands walk back toward the feet, huge bend in the knees. And again, think about leaving footprints in the ground. So really push down through the feet and rise up at the back of the mat. We're going to walk it forward, holding our triple S. So the hips are going to move us, but not the back. Pick up your left foot, weight shifts onto that right side. Notice any wobbles, it's all good, and then step it forward. Shift your weight to that left foot. Let the ankle wiggle. So we're seeing what we need to stabilize to keep our triple S while we pick up one foot at a time. When we get to the front of the mat, we're going to grab our block or our book or our ball, whatever we have. Between the ankles, any width that feels good. Knees stay a little bit soft. Let's really check low back. We want to zipper that pubic bone up. Now maintain triple S. We're using our hips to get down. So we're thinking butt back, chest forward, hip hinge, gently hugging the block. Get as low as you can without the back doing the movement. And then push the ground away. Use those legs and glutes to get you back up. So we're trying to get as low as we can, using the hips, using the knees, using the ankles. So that's that triple flexion. And then press the ground away to come back up. So as we do this hip hinge, we're maintaining that full contact with the feet. Big toe, pinky toe, and heel. If we just rock back into the heels, we're going to be feeling a little too much at the attachment of the hamstring. And when we really plant the full feet down, we get that much more even effort between hamstrings and glutes. Okay, you can come up and move the block aside, and we're going to do that sequence on the second side. Knees stay soft. Reach the arms forward and up. Lift, lift, lift those shoulder blades. Let's hinge, maintaining that contact with the feet. Left foot steps back. Lower the knee, not the toes. We're in that 90-90. Pause here, zipper the pubic bone, hands wherever you need, even the thigh. And let's hinge. Get as low as you can. Butt back, chest forward. Same action. And then push the ground away to come back up. So hopefully by now we've done so many different hip hinges already. It's a little bit more in our brain, but let's really think. We're getting as low as we can to the ground from this right hip. That's the action, not by sinking at the pelvis or rounding the back, but really getting that flexion of the hip and the ankle and the knee. One more hinge. And we're going to hold wherever you are in this hinge, hopefully feeling this right hip, right glute. Really push into the ball of that right foot as if you were trying to lift off that left knee. Okay, hands come down, three-legged quadruped, left knee can slide in a touch more, right leg back. Now we have those same options. It's not about the height of the leg, really zipper that pubic bone up. You can do your tiny elbow bends, but the leg doesn't get higher and we don't tip anywhere. The spine stays neutral, or lower right forearm, left forearm, and then right hand, left hand. So either way, we're challenging the left hip, that left side of the pelvis to hold steady. One more time. And then you can come back to that quadruped, sliding that right knee in. Hovers, if you want to skip the hovers, that's fine too. You can do the same thing by just rocking back, forward. Have to hover for the swivel. And then tap the knees. Hover or don't as you rock back. Forward, we swivel knees right and left. Okay, take a breath in your quadruped, big breath in. Exhale, lift the hip creases up, down dog. So this is also triple flexion. Knees are bent here in our down dog. We've got the heels or the hips lifted. Walk the hands back, happy squat. Press into the full feet. Really bend the knees. Use your legs to rise up. Okay, we're going to shift our weight. Think about the ankles. Pick up the right foot. Hold that neutral pelvis. Walk it forward, any pace. And then when you make it to the front, grab that block between your ankles. Any width, and we'll do our hip hinges. Inhale on the way down, we think butt back so that the knees aren't going forward. It's the hips going backwards, hip hinge. Press the ground away, rise up. Gently hugging the block. Keep the ribs from drooping down. Whatever pace. Press into the full feet. Last one. As you rise up, you can put the block aside. All right, we're going to do a round of sun salutation A. Knees stay soft. Reach the arms forward and up. Now maintain the full feet contact as you hinge forward. Plank pose. Feel that tuck under of the toes here. Glutes are working to stabilize the pelvis. We lower the knees, re-lift the front of the throat, lift the ribs, and then lower down with control. Low cobra, you can untuck the toes. Pelvic points draw in as we lift the chest. Toes tuck back under, we lift up for down dog. Walking the feet in. Anything you want to do in your down dog, you can pedal the feet out. You can lift and lower both heels. Let's walk it forward, bent knee forward, fold. Press the ground away, let's rise up. All right, second sequence, we'll step our right foot back, high lunge. Shorten the stance as much as you want, and let's really feel we've zippered that pubic bone up so that we're not feeling anything yucky in the knee or the low back, and we're really gonna press into the ball of that front foot. So that's our biggest action, is pushing down into that front foot. As we do that, we'll shift our weight forward and tap the right toes. Land it quietly, softly back into that lunge, as small as it needs to be, and then push down to step forward. Tiny little lunge. So we're gonna go any pace. We're really thinking, kind of pushing that left glute forward almost to get you up. And of course, sink it to the breath. So we're really powering through the feet and the glutes. Maintaining our triple S, really holding that pelvic bowl upright. Good, pause in your lunge. We're gonna turn to the side of the mat for our goddess squat. So we externally rotate the hips, zipper that pubic bone up. So we definitely don't wanna force that turn out and arch the back. So draw those pelvic points in. We're gonna just hold and alternate lifting one heel at a time. So we don't need to be super low in our squat by any means. We wanna feel really active around the glutes and the legs. And as we lift and lower one heel at a time, if you also want to add more of a pulse with the hips and the glutes, you could do that. Stay facing the side of your mat, but parallel your feet. So we're going to be in a wide-legged stance. Knees are going to be soft. I'm going to face sideways just so that you can see. Pelvis stays neutral. Think about triple S. So from the hips, we hinge. And then press the ground away to get back up. So we're pushing the ground away using the glutes. Bent knee forward fold, kind of a very wide-legged forward fold. You can even have hands on your glutes. That's really helpful here. So we're thinking glutes, glutes, glutes to get us up. Or have hands around the low back. Whatever mentally you need to really work on hinging at the hips, not folding forward by rounding the back or arching. So how low can we get with this flexion of the hips? Super active in the legs. All right, let's rise up and step it back to the front of the mat. All right, that little sequence on the other side. We step left foot back for our high lunge, zipper the pubic bone up. So nice and soft in the knees. We push down into the big toe and ball of the right foot to tap forward. And then softly land using that left glute to really support the left knee. Push to lift. So this could be any pace. You go as low as you want with that back knee in your lunge, or as small as it needs to be. But let's really feel pelvis isn't changing. Pause in your lunge. Let's turn to the left. So now we're going to come to that goddess squat. Hips are externally rotated. Low back is long. Let's alternate lifting one heel at a time, maintaining that push into the big toe, the ball of the feet. So this is plantar flexion of the ankle. You can add more of a pulse if you'd like. Now stay facing the side of your mat, but parallel the feet. Bend the knees, Maintain triple S, hands wherever you need. We hinge forward, inhale. Weight is in the full foot. Exhale, use your glutes. Push the ground away to come back up. So we hinge without rounding. And then we get back up without rounding. A true hip hinge, getting as low as you can without using the back to do it. All right, let's come back to the front of the mat, but we're actually just going to come to quadruped. So you can make your way right to quadruped. And we'll do a little cool down here. So for quadruped, of course, if you want to be on fists or any other option, let's do a couple cat-cows here or belly rolls, any type of movement that feels good for you. Checking in with your breath. We'll make our way into an inner thigh stretch. So from your quadruped, step the right foot out to the right. Try to get that right foot to face forward so the foot is parallel. We're getting this nice stretch through the inner thigh or adductor. You can rock backwards, you can rock forwards, you can kind of rock side to side, whatever feels good for this right inner thigh, right groin, but try to maintain contact with that full right foot. So big toe, pinky toe, and heel. And you're going to get a much more active stretch along many different muscle groups. Back to quadruped, and then we step left foot out to the left. Adjust as needed. Try to get the toes to face forward. Hinging any amount that feels good. And let's make sure we're hinging in this right hip without feeling anything pinchy or yucky in the hip or the knee. Keeping the ribs lifted slightly so that we're not arching the upper back. Bring it back in for quadruped. And we're just going to do a little release for the feet. So from your quadruped, you're just going to kind of stomp your feet, little foot tantrum. You do it with toes tucked or untucked, whatever feels good for your feet and ankles, a little bit of both. And we will make our way onto our backs. You can have a block or anything you'd like nearby. I'm going to use my block in that supported bridge position again, but that's totally optional. So feel back of the skull, shoulder blades, and sacrum. And we'll pick up that left foot. Now bring your fingers to that left hip crease. That's hip flexion. That's the action we did a ton of today. Can we keep a little space in that hip crease, keeping our pelvis neutral, and then just roll the thigh bone in and out. So this might be such a small movement. I want you to feel this external and internal rotation of the hip without feeling the whole lower back wiggle around. So we're trying to isolate just within that left hip joint. Now hold external rotation. That's when your foot is going to be over toward the right leg a little bit more, and we'll land it for a figure four without any compensation around the pelvis or low back. So we maintain that feeling of the sacrum down, the pelvic points kind of drawing in. You could do whatever you'd like with your upper body. Arms can be out. You can pick up that right foot if you'd like. Wherever you end up, check in with your triple S, check in with your breath. So as you inhale, make sure you're not arching away from the ground, but instead expanding all the way around the ribs, front, side, and back. Let's release it down. Recheck triple S, pick up the right foot. Fingers into that right hip crease. Now, can you roll the thigh out and in? So internal and external rotation of that thigh bone without any movement up above. hold it in external rotation where it's crossed over that left thigh, and we'll land it for figure 4, maintaining that same position of the pelvis, so we're not tipping it, we're not overly tucking it. Maybe we pick up that left foot. So wherever you want to be for this right hip stretch, do whatever you'd like here, but really focus on the breath. Slowing it down. Let's release it down. If you're on the block, you can just push down into your feet, lift up, and then lower off the block. You're welcome to hug the knees in, do a little rock side to side or up and down. And you can finish on your back in any position or seated position, but we'll take a few breaths together, letting the eyes close. Wherever you are, try to relax your jaw. So if you notice the top and bottom teeth touching, just softly part those teeth. Let the forehead relax. Take a few more of those big breaths around the rib cage. And as you exhale it out, send a grateful thought out into the universe.